Welcome to my C5 pilots. This is meant to be a tutorial on how to build what we consider a generic bid group. I'm going to go ahead and build this in my default just so that you can see the basics of how to put together a bid group. This is really geared towards folks that are trying to get their first line. For those of you who are more senior, you might want to go ahead and put in more preferences. You may want to go ahead and bid max credit up top instead of at the bottom. This is really geared towards those who are, this is kind of their first attempt to get a line. Please note, for those trying to get a line, PBS really is trying to honor seniority in almost all cases. So at the end of the day, if you don't get a line, it's not necessarily because of your bid. It could simply be that you just don't have the seniority yet to get a line. So please don't be discouraged. We've all been there. And please note that everyone on the scheduling committee is really fighting for as many people to get lines as we possibly can. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start by adding a bid group. We're going to start by adding a pairing bid group. This is to try to get a line. A pairing bid group implies a line. Reserve obviously is trying to get reserve. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. Notice this highlights a darker blue. This means that we're now working on a pairing bid group. So I'm going to go ahead and start by setting a condition. The best opportunity to get a line when you're right on the edge is to start with a min credit window. So we're going to do that. If I can't build out a min credit window, I'm going to do else start next bid group. So I'm going to click on that. Basically what that's saying is if I can't reach the threshold for a minimum credit window, go to the next bid group, which is going to be a regular credit window. This is typically what you're going to want to do when you're first trying to get a line. Again, later on when you're looking to build time, you're going to probably want to flip this and either put your regular bid group up top or your max bid group up top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to hit apply. Bam, we've got our first bid group starting out here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I just hit close just because I want to show you this is just the basics of what we have here. I'm now going to insert below that first condition that I've added. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a wave function. So there's two new wave functions that a lot of pilots are not necessarily aware of. One of them is to waive the requirement that PBS give you 2 consecutive days off in 7 days of work. The other is to give you a block of 3 days off. Now, these are actually appealing to a lot of folks. The only reason why we advise more junior bidders to waive these is it gives you a better opportunity of getting some kind of a line, because at the end of the day, PBS is trying to build you a line. If you give it more opportunities with whatever's left over by the time PBS reaches you in the seniority list, it just makes your odds a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to waive this 2 consecutive days off and 7 requirement, and now that's been applied. I'm now going to go ahead and waive the block of 3 days off. So now notice I've got a waive 2 consecutive days off and 7, waive block of 3 days off, and I've set my minimum credit window, else start next bid group. I'm going to insert below that, and now what I'm going to do is start putting my prefer offs. This is typically where you know you've got a particular group of days you'd like off in a given month. The best approach, if you've got like many days that you want off in a row, is to use the dates range function. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to build this up for August. I'm going to say, for example, I would really like the 18th through the 22nd of August off. And then I'm going to click, notice I've got this back to prefer off. I'm going to add this all or nothing check. And what this does is it's saying to PBS, give me August 18th through the 22nd all off, or don't honor any of those. Like, don't give me just the 19th or 20th off. Give me the 18th through the 22nd off. I'm going to apply that. And now I'm going to go ahead and do another date range. Now, this is what I'm about to show you is what we also call the waterfall approach. And that's just to try to get you, for example, maybe you really want the 20th and the 21st of August off. So you're going to bracket around that because, again, you don't know what trips are going to be available by the time PBS gets to you. So you want to give it as many opportunities as possible to give you a line. So I'm going to use a date range. I'm going to say this time the 19th through the 22nd, all or nothing. I'll apply that. And we're just going to keep going, applying different date ranges. Again, bracketing around those dates that you might really, really want off. And you'll see that I'm kind of building these brackets. Now, the other function that a lot of people like to use is this dates list. And the idea of a dates list is maybe your dates are discrete. Maybe you'd really like, for example, the 9th off, the 19th off, the 29th off. I don't know, you like, dates that ends in 9. I'm joking. Notice this gives you a comma delimited lines. You've got the 9th, comma, the 19th, comma, the 29th. Now, I do have all or nothing in there. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove that simply because that could be limiting. I'm going to get rid of that line. I'm going to go here. See, we have our little hamburger thing here. We can delete. So now I've got prefer off the 9th, the 19th, the 29th. The nice part about this is when PBS goes into denial mode, PBS goes into denial mode when it's trying to build you a line, and it'll start to eliminate some of your preferences that you've given in your pairing bid group in order to try to build you a line, and it works these from right to left. So that's one of the reasons why this can be useful, because it'll try to build you a line with all of these off dates, and then it'll see that it can't build you one, and it'll eliminate August 29th first, and then try to build you a line. And if it can, it'll stop and give you that line. If it can't, it'll now try to eliminate August 19th, try to build you a line. If it can, great, it'll award it for you. If it can't, it'll now try to eliminate August 9th, and so on. All right, so I've got my prefer offs. Now, perhaps you want to have some avoids. So maybe you don't like certain places that we might go to. So you may say avoid, we'll say stations, we'll pick a station. Let's see here. Maybe you don't like, I really love Lincoln, but maybe you don't like Lincoln. So we're going to avoid a layover in Lincoln. Bam, there it is. Okay. So this is great. We've got our very first bid group worked out. One of the things we're going to want to do now is build your regular credit group bid group. So what I'm going to do is click on the top of this. You see pairing bid group. Notice the entire bid group will now highlight a darker blue. I'm going to use that little hamburger function, hit copy, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new bid group. It'll be another pairing bid group, of course. And I'm going to paste what we just did to this one. Now you'll notice that it always leaves, whenever we do this, and again, I need to refine my own technique here, it leaves a pairing bid group in between. I'm going to get rid of this one. So I highlighted the top line. I'm going to hit delete. So now I've got my min credit bid group, now my regular credit bid group. Now for the regular credit bid group, we don't want this set condition min credit else blah, blah, blah. I'm going to delete that. So now this is just our regular credit bid group. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to edit this. Perhaps. Oh, that's what I wanted. I want to do an insert below. So I'm about to insert something that is, oh, it lost my avoid pairings in Lincoln. I'm going to go ahead and re-add that. It's not a bad little practice for everybody to see. I'll say I don't like Lincoln. Like I said, I actually do, but we'll add that. All right, so there it is. Now what I want to do is below that, I want to insert below it a group. Try that again. I'm going to close that. All right, I'm going to insert what's known as a dummy connector. You've probably seen this mentioned before in some of the tutorials you might have seen. I'm going to do an avoid. So I'm going to say avoid pairings. And you can do this a few different ways. You could do this based on the total time. I'm going to do the average daily credit. Obviously, you would not want a trip or even a day of credit that's less than 1 minute. So we're going to do less than 1 minute. This is going to be a dummy connector, and all this is going to be doing is allowing us to do an else start next bid group. And basically what an else start next bid group is going to do is give PBS the opportunity to flow into your next pairing bid group or eventually your reserve bid group, but you don't want to do this for your reserve bid group. I'm going to say avoid pairings if average daily credit's less than 1 minute, else start next bid group. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that. So now I've got my regular bid group built out, regular credit bid group. And this is the dummy connector. What this is going to do, it's going to try to build you a regular credit line. If it can't do that, it's going to get to this line and say, oh, I wasn't able to achieve a regular credit bid group. I'm going to go to the next bid group that this person has listed. So now I'll do another add bid group. And here what I'm going to do is go ahead, do another pairing bid group. So I'll say apply. And we're going to start off by doing a set condition. In this case, it'll be a max credit bid group. Notice I'm not going to click on the else start next bid group. There's a good reason for this, because my next bid group is going to be a reserve bid group. I do not want to give PBS an easy way to get to my reserve bid group. So I'm not going to click on this, because again, this is saying go to my next bid group if you can't build me a max credit line. So I'm not going to use it on this last one. This is going to be the pairing bid group above reserve. I'm not going to use else start next bid group. Again, I don't want to give it an easy way to get there. All right, so I'll click apply. So now we've got a max credit window going on here. So the other thing you could have done is copied this whole thing. So actually, just to make it easy, I'll go ahead and copy my regular bid group. I'll copy that. And down here, I'll go ahead and say I want to insert below. We'll go paste. Oop, not quite what I wanted it to do, but that's okay. I'm going to eliminate this bid group. And now what I'm going to do is simply add above, so I'll say insert above. I'm going to insert above a set condition max credit, and I'll hit apply. Okay. So now what I've got here in this pairing bid group, I've waived those two conditions. I've set the max credit window. I've given my prefer offs. I've given my avoids. Now in this case, because it's the last pairing bid group prior to my reserve bid group, I'm going to delete this dummy connector. So I'm going to go over here, delete. Okay. So now what this looks like, I have a min credit window, else start next bid group. I've got my prefer offs, my avoids, my regular credit window. I've got my waves, my prefer offs, my avoid. Notice I've got my dummy connector. Don't forget about that. That allows it to flow nicely into my final pairing bid group, which is going to be a maximum credit window, prefer offs, avoid pairing. Finally, you're going to go ahead and build out your reserve bid group. I'll hit apply. Now notice this put my reserve bid group above a pairing bid group. We don't want this. I'm going to go ahead and move this down. Notice I clicked on the group and I hit the down arrow up here and it moved it before, or after rather, my last pairing bid group. So now down here, I can go ahead and I'm going to say, for example, I know I want these same days off, so I'm going to go back up to my pairing bid group. I'm going to copy those days off and I'm going to simply insert them in here. Oops, I mean to hit copy, I'll hit paste. Or it won't behave for you, which happens sometimes. Let's do this again. Let me try to copy this again. Sometimes the copy doesn't behave the way you would like it to. There we go. All right, so I'm going to take each of these lines. I have not yet found a gracious way to insert these other than one at a time from a previously created list. Unless you're just copying the entire bid group wholesale, I just haven't found a gracious way to do this. So if anybody does find one, please, by all means, let me know. I'd appreciate knowing so I can put it out to the group. All right, so now, and I do have one extra reserve bid group down here that I created accidentally. I'm going to delete that. Okay. So now what we've got is 3 pairing bid groups that are all linked together by else start next. This one's up here. Below we've got this else start next. And finally, this last pairing bid group, I do not want an else start next anywhere because I do not want to give PBS an easy path to get down to my reserve bid group. All right, so that's the basics of building out what we consider a default or a generic bid group. By all means, as always, if you have any questions, please contact the scheduling committee via the email that's provided on this website. and look forward to seeing you all out there on the line. Take care.